You ever see this at the gym? I mean, really think about it. There's one person in there 6 days a week, always posting embrace the grind, living that no days off lifestyle. But then there's this other person. They're only there maybe 3 days a week, seem way more chill, and yet somehow they're getting leaner and stronger every single month. So what's going on? Are they just lazy? Or is there a smarter way to do this whole muscle building thing?
And this really sets up the two kinds of people we see, right? You've got the grinder on one side. They're all about that more is better philosophy. They live in the gym, always pushing, always sweating, never taking a real break. And then on the other side, you've got the strategist. They train half as much, but you just can't argue with the results. And the real difference, the strategist knows what actually works. And maybe even more important, they know what to ignore.
So here's the big question, the one we're going to tackle in this whole explainer. Is this lazy way actually lazy, or is it just a whole lot smarter? Let's break it down.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to jump right into that lazy muscle paradox, why doing less can mean growing more. Then, we'll talk about choosing smarter exercises for the biggest bang for your buck. After that, we'll get into the surprising power of just pausing. And of course, why recovery is where the magic really happens. We're going to wrap it all up by flipping the script on what real discipline actually looks like.
All right, let's kick things off with our first big idea. Less training, more growth. Now, I know this sounds totally backwards, but stick with me. We're about to tear down this idea that you have to live in the gym to get results.
You'd think the more you train a muscle, the faster it grows, right? Well, the science actually points somewhere else. There's a real sweet spot for triggering muscle growth, and it's hitting each muscle just 2, maybe 3 times a week. That's enough to send the signal to grow, but, and this is the key, it's also enough time for your body to recover and actually do the growing. Pushing past that, you're mostly just getting tired for no good reason. And here's why that works. Your muscles don't care how many days you show up. They respond to the total weekly stimulus. So if your goal is, say, 12 hard sets for your chest during the week, it makes zero difference if you split that into 6 tiny, ineffective workouts or 3 really focused, effective ones. Look at the chart. 12 sets is 12 sets. The strategist just gets the job done way more efficiently.
So what are the actual numbers we're talking about? Well, the research pretty consistently lands in this zone. About 10 to 20 total hard sets for each muscle, spread across the entire week. In any given workout, that's going to look like 4 to 8 really tough sets. You take those sets close to failure, and then you stop. Anything more than that isn't better. It's just more. You're piling on fatigue without piling on any extra growth.
So you've got the how much figured out, but what about the what? It's not just about volume, it's about the exercises you choose. And that brings us right to our next point, focusing on smarter moves, not more of them.
Look, you don't need some complicated routine with 15 different exercises you saw on Instagram. A simple plan is almost always the most effective plan. And that plan is built on just a handful of core movements. We're talking the big ones: pull-ups, push-ups, dips, squats, rows. If you can master these, you've basically hit every major muscle in your body. So what's the common thread here? They're all compound movements. And the definition is simple, but the impact is huge. It's any exercise that hits multiple muscle groups all at once. Think about it. A squat isn't just a leg exercise. It works your quads, glutes, hamstrings, and your core. One move, multiple muscles. It's the very definition of training smarter, not harder.
Okay, this next one is going to feel wrong to a lot of people, but it is absolutely critical. Let's talk about the power of a pause and why resting more between your sets will actually help you build more muscle in the long run.
We all see that person in the gym, right? They're rushing from set to set, drenched in sweat, breathing hard. They call it intensity. But the strategic approach? It's resting a full 3, maybe even 5 minutes between your hardest sets. Now, to an outsider, it might look lazy, but what you're really doing is giving your muscles a chance to fully recover their strength for the next round.
And here's the thing. When you're fully recovered, you can lift heavier or get more reps on that next set. And that ability to perform at your absolute best, set after set after set, is what actually drives progress. Longer rest isn't lazy. It's a direct strategy for getting stronger and building more muscle. Plain and simple.
So resting between sets is huge, but that leads us to an even bigger piece of the puzzle, your recovery outside the gym. It's time to talk about how you recover to conquer, because honestly, the best workout in the world is useless if you get this part wrong.
Let's start with cardio. The grinder mindset screams high hit, sprints, burpees, workouts that just crush you.
But that high-stress stuff can spike your hunger and your stress hormones and just lead straight to burnout. The smarter, more strategic option? Just walking. It's low stress, it's sustainable, and you can do it every single day. It helps you burn fat and recover without piling on even more stress.
But what's the number one most important part of recovery? The one thing that is absolutely non-negotiable? Sleep. Getting a solid 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every single night.
And this quote right here just says it all. You can have the perfect workout, the perfect diet, but if you aren't sleeping, it's all for nothing. See, you break your muscles down in the gym, but your body does all the repair work, the rebuilding them bigger and stronger while you sleep. If you skimp on sleep, you're just throwing your gains away. It is the single most powerful and laziest tool you have.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. Let's talk about what discipline really is, because I promise you, it's probably not what you think.
Just think about it for a second. Which of these two paths takes more real, actual discipline? Path A, where you force yourself into the gym 6 days a week, do cardio you hate, and just keep adding more until you inevitably burn out after a few months. Or Path B, the discipline to be consistent for years, to have the wisdom to stop when you've done enough, and to tell your ego to take a hike when it screams for more. Path A feels harder in the moment, sure, but Path B, that's true long-term discipline.
And that right there is the big takeaway. Real discipline isn't about chasing pain or doing more just for the sake of it. It's about having the wisdom and the restraint to focus only on the few things that truly work, and the confidence to ignore all the other noise.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Is discipline really about doing more, or is it about having the focus to do only what matters? Think about it.